What's up, everybody? It is Matt Modi with OddsJam, and for this video, I'm going to be talking about the VIG in sports betting, also known as the juice, or the professional real term is called vigorish. If you're unfamiliar with what the VIG is, I would recommend going to oddsjam.com, check out our betting education articles, and look at what is juice in sports betting. It's described in very great detail in that article, but the high level summed up version of what the VIG is, it's essentially a tax or a charge that sportsbooks add to every single bet in order for them to make money. So sportsbooks don't charge you a transaction fee. So if you want to place a bet, you can just place it. You don't get charged for that. But what instead sportsbook do is they juice up the odds a little bit, so that way they can get their profit using that scenario. Here's an example. So what I have up here is Caesars Sportsbook. I have a game, Hawks versus Cavaliers. As we see, the spread is Hawks -2. It looks like both sides of it are priced at the odds -110, -110 and -110. So essentially what happens here is if a bettor bets $100 on the Hawks and another bettor bets $100 on the Cavs, the winner of that bet will profit $90. So they'll bet 100, they'll get 190 back, $90 in profit. But what will happen is the loser will lose all of that money. So no matter what, the sportsbook makes $10 per $100 bet on this Hawks Cavs -2 +2 bet. Every single market is going to have a juice associated with it, even money line. And of course, spread and total. Player props have even more juice. So instead of seeing -110 on each way, we'll see -110, -120, -125, -105. Sometimes we'll see -115 each way. Either way, a VIG is going to be charged on every single sports book. So one thing that's important to do with this information is understand how much the VIG is on each bet, and also find out what the true line is for each bet. Because if the sportsbooks are charging a little bit of juice for each bet, we want to know, well, what do they actually think the true line of this bet should be? And that's how you can identify positive expected value bets. So the first thing you need to do is just calculate what the VIG percentage is. So on a normal -110 on each way, you see here the VIG is about 4.76%. That's standard for every single spread or total game. You're going to see a VIG of about 4.76%. If you want to look at a player prop, the standard there is -115 each way. As we can see, the VIG is all the way up at 7% for a standard player prop. For a money line bet, like if we go back to this Hawks Cavs game, -135 +115, we see that the VIG is, if I can have it calculated here, about 3.96%. So on average, we see that the money line, depending on the matchup, can have a smaller VIG than the total in the spread, but the highest one is always going to be the VIG on player props. Those are always going to have the most juice associated with them. The logic for that is just because player props have such a wider variance. So sportsbooks want to make sure that they get their edge, and they upcharge a little bit more juice. People also love betting player props, so they can take advantage of users in that way. So now that we know how to calculate what the VIG percent is, it's important to understand why it's so important to remove the VIG and find the true line. The way that I can describe that is it's how we calculate positive expected value bets and how you can make money, consistently make money betting on sports. So what OddsJam does is they use the sharpest sportsbook in the world to price markets, and then they provide situations in which you're getting more favorable odds on another sportsbook. So for this example, Danilo Gallinari assist play. The OddsJam perfect line, which is again pulled from the sharpest sportsbook in the world, prices this at -102. And as we can see here on DraftKings, BetMGM, and Caesars, this book prices them all the way up at +130. So there's immediately a difference between +130 and -102. But that doesn't necessarily guarantee that it's positive expected value. So what we need to do is use the NoVig fair odds calculator to identify what the true line is. So it was minus 131 and it was minus 102, I believe. Yeah, so that puts the true line of this bet at plus 112. So it's still positive expected value because we're getting it at plus 130 on the sportsbook, but it's not quite as an attractive play as the minus 102. So it's incredibly important to understand what the true line is whenever you're placing a sportsbook bet or a sports bet, especially if you're looking at the positive EV page. So OddsJam has a calculator that can do that for you. If you're new to sports betting and you're trying to understand exactly what this means, the way it was described to me is an example using the stock market. So let's pretend I want to buy stock on, these prices aren't going to be accurate, but let's just say Apple, and I want to buy it. Someone tells you that you should buy it at $5 per share. Obviously, that's way lower than what it really is, but for this example, $5 per share. And you should sell it at $6 per share, and you'll make that dollar profit for each share that you buy. You would price that as stock's probably worth $5.50, right? You would just split the difference. That's essentially how Vig works with sports betting. They give you two sides, a high and a low, and what you need to do is use the OddsJam Vig calculator to calculate what the true price of this should be. So then, once you understand what the true line is, the OddsJam perfect line, true line, then you can start really making money betting on sports, because all you need to do is look for sports books that have more favorable odds than what the OddsJam perfect line has. So this positive EV page is full of examples where you're getting positive expected value, because the way this page works is they remove the VIG and then provide examples based on where you're getting better odds, and that's what this percentage means. So the wider the gap between the OddsJam perfect line and the sports book, the higher percent this is. And if you're unsure of why positive expected value betting is so valuable, just look no further than my OddsJam page. So I'm mostly a positive EV bettor. As you can see here, of my 9,100 in total profit, almost about 5.5 of that is strictly from positive EV betting. So you're going to have variance, right? I've had 2 bad weeks in a row. I had 2 bad weeks prior to that. But in the middle, I was up almost 2,000 just from 2 weeks. So you have to understand that there's going to be variance, but removing the VIG is one of the most important parts of being a sports bettor. So one thing that I would recommend you do, if you're not currently a signed up, subscribed member of OddsJam, is just sign up for the email list. The way it works is if you sign up for the email list, you will get sent 3 free bets a day. We recommend locking those bets in and then adding it to your bet tracker, just a tool that OddsJam offers for free. It tells you when your bets are green, which means you're currently beating the closing line, and the closing line is the NoVig odds on the OddsJam perfect line. Red means you are not. So obviously, not every single bet you make is going to beat the closing line, but as long as you're beating it more often than not, you will profit. So as you can see, unsurprisingly, I've had a bad couple weeks. We see a lot more red than normal on my positive EV page. So this happens, on my bet tracker. So this happens. The key is to understand why, if it happens more often than not. If you're having particularly bad time, use the bet tracker to analyze the results and look at what's going wrong. And all this information here gets fed into from the bet tracker. So all the information in the bet tracker feeds into your homepage, and it gives you all these insights. So the bet tracker is a great tool. It's completely free, just like all those calculators I was showing you earlier. And as a sports bettor, it's incredibly important to track your profit and loss. So sign up for those 3 free bets. Add them to your bet tracker. Obviously, lock those bets in as well, and you will see your profits start to rise. And that's how you can use OddsJam to benefit you. But overall, I really can't stress enough just how important it is understanding the concept behind the VIG and how to remove it. So if you have any questions, please hit me up at my Twitter handle below. I would also appreciate if you could like the video, subscribe to the OddsJam YouTube channel, and throw some comments as well. But that is all I got for you. So thanks for watching, and have a good one.